Hey guys, hope you're doing good. This is going to be kind of like an overview of GrapheneOS, what I would do different, the apps I kind of rely on, and just so you know, this is pretty much a voiceover because for whatever reason, the audio would not record while I was just recording the screen. This could be a technical issue, this could be a GrapheneOS issue, this could be also a skill issue. But I'm pretty much going to go over what I would do different, the types of apps that I use, and most importantly, why you should trust in the fact that GrapheneOS isn't going anywhere. This is a very big project. They have a lot of stake into it. I think the fact that GrapheneOS exists is most likely not going to go anywhere, and I think you should ignore the FUD. This is kind of like my, you know, 300 level IQ brain working. Now, just to be clear, GrapheneOS is not only not going anywhere, I don't think that they're going to have an issue with porting to the new Pixel 10 series that's coming out very soon. Now, GrapheneOS in 2025 is very stable. It's worked for me. I was on alpha. I'm on the alpha channel, so I'm like on the bleeding edge type of software because I'm a psycho. But most importantly, I everything pretty much works. It works out the gate. I have very little to no issue besides with Dex mode. Now, this is how I set up my phone. I have a main profile with Google Play services installed. You do not need to do that. Google Play services do not need to be installed at all. Contrary to popular belief, this is probably the most de-Googled phone you could get, minus the fact that it's made on a Pixel series. It does not have location services installed either. I use a Crescent and Obtanium for my applications. Google Play is like my third option, and then the last is F-Droid, depending on which profile I'm in. So I set up my main profile with my Google Play services. Those Google Play services uh, are pretty much with a dummy Gmail account that has no correlation to me, and I attach all of the apps that require Google Play services to pretty much be installed. Or if it needs it to do when it needed to do private spaces, I pretty much set this up like as is. Now, what I would do differently is I would make the dummy account, delete it, set up private spaces, and then delete it, and have two separate accounts, and then delete the Google Play services on that end. Put pretty much all the Google Play needed services through private spaces. This is where I put most of my work, pretty much my work crap emails, crap applications that I have to have in order to communicate through my job. So I kind of like segment all of them pretty much away from each other. And then I take my applications and I install them in other profiles, but no Google Play services needed. That's kind of like the benefit of it is you can install all the applications in the main profile and then choose which ones you want to put where on the other secondary profile and just make sure you keep up with the updating. I use a Crescent because it has automatic updates and it's an excellent service that focuses on privacy, security, and anonymity. Oh, privacy and security mainly, and to remain as private as possible. And if you want to go full skits mode, you can definitely install Invisible Light Pro Lite or Orbot to route everything through Tor. Reject the idea of like maybe like a SIM card and just rely on public Wi-Fi or data if you want to go that route. Or if you're going to use a SIM card and have a number on here, I would just opt for that or Mulvet or IVPN, pay with Monero, and make sure that if you want to maintain a consistent ad blocking experience and a decent level of privacy, that would be the route to go. The applications that I use beyond that is App Verifier to verify all the apps, inter-profile sharing to share all of my files in between essentially all of my profiles. Like if I want to share not only just media files, but I can share my text, my clipboard, you name it. Then on top of it, I just download a couple other miscellaneous apps like SyncThing for my contacts, and my KeyPass. KeyPass XD is like the KeyPass manager that I use. If you can really take into the fact that you do not need the cloud service like Bitwarden, and I'm a huge fan of Bitwarden, I love it. I would say that would be the next step is to go to a fully offline uh, password manager that you use SyncThing, which you do not need to use the relays, and sync everything locally to make sure that all your passwords stay updated. That's kind of like the second benefit is GrapheneOS gives you user choice. You can choose which apps have um, network access, which don't, contact scope, which do and don't, and then so forth. Molly is what I prefer versus Signal. I also use Simple X for my communications via messaging for to make sure that I get the maximum of end-to-end encryption, et cetera, et cetera. This is where I'm going to look at private spaces. Private spaces is great. It used to not be allowed on other profiles, but now it is. It's why I like it. You can actually hide it to make sure that no one else sees it. If you want to go through the maximum level of privacy in terms of like someone grabbing your phone, they don't even know you have private spaces. You can keep all your other apps down there, like your dating apps, whatever, your Tinder, your GrindMe, etc., Grinder, etc., etc., to make sure that you keep everything separate. The good thing about private spaces is it's kind of like its own container. It's separated. You can once you hit lock, it locks it. It kills all the apps in the background, puts them at rest. So if you're looking for something that needs constant background syncing, this would not be the place to put it. But you can do this on each profile now. You can separate and separate and separate, and then hide certain ones that you want to hide and not hide certain ones you want to hide. This also makes it easier so that you don't need to have like 30 different profiles. You can just have two profiles, two private spaces, or three profiles, three private spaces, and then you can condense that down to probably like four different profiles, which is pretty cool. And then I use Obtainium to get all my apps directly from the apps from GitHub. That's where I get all my updates from. And that's the good thing is like you can restrict users to be able to install apps. You can make it just strictly for calling and texting. You can even restrict it from texting and calling. GrapheneOS truly gives you back the power to you on what you can and cannot do, what you do and do not allow with, especially with contact scope and storage scope, et cetera, et cetera. But you can even choose what your profiles can and cannot do, and that's why I really like GrapheneOS, because it gives me not only better user choice, but it also gives me the ability to take away permissions and grant permissions. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Now, private spaces, when you hide it, you have to go back into the settings essentially and search for it. And once you search for it, it will pop back up, and then you can go in there and do what you need to do, and then close it out, and then it's like it never existed. That is one of my favorite features. My screen blacked out right here. My favorite features of GrapheneOS is not just the private space because it's on the main profile, but you can really have it anywhere. I mean, I'm trying to like make it as simple as possible. But if you want to install Google Play services, absolutely do it. Don't let the FUD people tell you that you should never do it because it's hard. I'm just gonna briefly go over it. Really, what if you want? The only reason you would really want it is for banking apps. If you don't want to use progressive web apps for banking, which I generally recommend to do, because it's just more private. It's not constantly running in the background. It's not constantly running in general. I would say progressive web app. If you can't and you don't want to, and you want the application because that's how you check your money and etc., and it's just more convenient, you have to disable exploit protection compatibility later. You do that, your banking app should work. If you keep it on, if you keep that enabled by default, you might run into some crashing issue or it not working. I found this out through my own testing. It was kind of not fun to figure that out because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm reducing my security slightly for these banking apps to work. But because I don't use tap to pay anymore, because it doesn't exist on GrapheneOS, I essentially just use all my banking apps in either a progressive web app or I put them in a private space and I maybe check it like once or twice a month to make sure like everything's being paid on time, et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously, other than that, GrapheneOS has really good update policy, and it makes sure not only you get all the updates as fast as possible, that you get the most control. I think another thing that I would probably do different in terms of installing GrapheneOS and maintaining it is most I'd probably most likely not only forfeit the the Google Play services, I'd probably forfeit the whole idea of having a SIM card and a number in general. I am looking at something called JMPG Chat, which uses XMMP to be able to accept calls and texts. And maybe in the future, I'll test it out and see how reliable it is. Like I'll suppress my number, like not kill it off, but like suppress it and kind of see how far I could get away with that in general. I'm not entirely sure how I would test it because I don't really talk to people a lot through, especially through basic MS, you know, SMS and like MMS because it's just not secure. Um, but I will probably check that out in the future. If that would be something y'all would be interested in watching, let me know. Maybe I'll check it out. And then in the comments, please drop any knowledge that you have, how you run GrapheneOS. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Contact me on my social media platform. I'm here to answer any questions or any troubleshooting that you have a problem with. Or if you want, you can go into the GrapheneOS Matrix server. They're very helpful there. I've learned a lot. Essentially, just don't be afraid to run GrapheneOS. It's probably the best option you have in 2025. And anyways, thanks for the video. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you in the next one. Remember to argue also in the comments for the algorithm. I'll see you later.